We're just practicing, so. Oh, wow.
We're going to review 2 books here in a minute.
Yes.
Um, I don't know you, but hi. You're going to have to make
It's Jessica.
introductions, Rebecca.
I know her. Yeah, so she's my friend when I lived in New Jersey. So are we ready to review books, or I feel so stupid?
Okay, so we should get officially started. Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Laura.
I'm Rebecca.
Together, Rebecca and I are just starting out with a podcast called Bloop. We aren't just a podcast, but for these purposes right now, I guess, we are trying to get used to going live, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to do Instagram Lives. Our goal is to try to do these weekly, where we each quickly review a book that we read. And then eventually we will have full reviews up on our website. And we will also film full podcast episodes in more of like a book club format. We have lots of plans, exciting things, but this is kind of where we're starting for now.
Yeah.
So you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
No, you're going to go first, but I just wanted to add that Laura and I, we have differing tastes when it comes to books. So we often read different books than each other. So our idea is to come on Instagram Live and review the books that we've read on our own, and then have a podcast of a book that we have read the same book of, and then we can talk more in depth about that book. So that's our idea. So this actual first live will be about 2 different books, one book that Laura read, one book that I read, and just our take on it, our general take on it. So
Yeah.
Laura.
And then I think you just said that the podcast, right, it's going to be we're going to try to reserve the podcast to books that we've kind of both have read. Yeah, so it's maintained like a book club type format. And eventually, with those full podcast tapings, we hope to eventually be able to do those fully live as well, because we'd love to have like an interactive live book club. So
yeah, where people can comment and ask questions, or tell us how beautiful we are. We don't know, whatever happens.
Yeah. And so for right now, we know that people's time is short, and so we want to keep this short, between around 10 to 15 minutes in length. And our goal, one of the main things that Bloop really believes, so again, books on the loop, so Bloop, one of the things we really adhere to is that we truly believe that people have a right to know what they're reading. So like, in other words, we have a right to know what content is going to be in the book without getting spoiled for what's in the book. So the best way we can kind of give this an example to you is like with the movie rating system or video games. You can kind of gauge where the content will lie before you decide to spend your time and energy and your emotions in a book when you read it. So that's kind of one of our mottos here at Bloop, is that readers have a right to know. Okay, do you have anything else to add, Rebecca?
No, I don't. Hi, Kim.
Okay, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So we're going to do things a little differently. So we will let you know the title, the author, and then give you a little synopsis of the book. And then we're going to go ahead and give it a rating for content rating, and then our enjoyment rating of it. Okay, so the first book I'm going to be doing is called The Raven Boys. This is by Maggie, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, it's kind of tricky, but I think it's Stiefvater. Okay, so the synopsis reads, there are only 2 reasons a non-seer would see a spirit on St. Mark's Eve, Neve said. Either you're his true love or you killed him. Okay, so this premise, basically, to kind of summarize the synopsis, because I don't want to read this whole thing because you can easily go and see that, is basically you have high school kids, you have, kids on opposite sides of the track, so to speak. So you have like wealthy kids and then, not so wealthy kids, private school, public school. And there's a girl and a boy, slow burn, forbidden love type trope. And if, there's like this prophecy, it said seer, so you have one whose parents are like seer, is a seer, but it's prophesied since birth that her name is Blue. She will kill the boy she loves with a kiss. So I'm like, ooh, this premise is really exciting, right? So I'm, all about this. So really quick before we go into my overall review, I gave this a content rating of YA 16. That's young adult 16. This book, if it wasn't for the adult language, this would have been a YA 12. It doesn't have a ton of like graphic violence. It doesn't have any sexual scenes. There's no like drug use, nothing super descriptive in terms of things that I would, as a parent of a 13-year-old, would be like concerned about. However, the F-bomb is used at least 9 times. The S word is used over 10 times, the D word over 11, the A word 3, and the B word at least once. So language-wise, it got bumped up to YA 16. Now, technically, language-wise, it could have actually fallen into adult, but here's kind of where I, decided like, okay, other content-wise, everything else, it fits into YA 12. So I just kind of met in the middle here. But I am including that in the full review for parents to be able to see and determine, and, adults too, whoever, if they could see what is actually in it and determine if this is a good fit for themselves or their child. My overall rating for this book is like 3.5 stars, maybe 3.25. Maggie's writing is awesome. Like, her descriptions are unique. You can really picture and see everything she's describing. Excuse me. However, there are some things that I had a hard time. So this book, like I said, with the synopsis, like, it was a really intriguing synopsis and a premise, and I was like, ooh, because if you guys know me, I love love and I love romance. I like to have it in all my books. So I was like, ooh, we're going to have like this slow burn developing relationship, and it's just like never happened. So I was at like 40% into this book, and I listened through audiobook, and that's why it tells me how much percentage I'm in the book. 40% of the book, almost halfway there, and literally like nothing was happening. And then when I say nothing, like, you're meeting characters, you're learning a little bit about the plot line, but like literally nothing is happening, right? So I was like, okay, well, this is a series, and I know sometimes it takes a little while to build up and do all that, right? Right, Rebecca? So I'm trying to give grace with that. And then I get to like 63% of the way through the book, and it still hasn't changed. And I message you, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I keep reading this book for the sake of our podcast because I want to have like a content rating for it to make sure there's no surprises? I've gotten this far, and you encouraged me to keep going, and I'm glad I did, because at about 70% of the way through the book, finally, stuff is happening. But before that, it was just a whole bunch of like just characters, which they're good characters. And then something about ley lines and whatever, but really there's no romance, there's no action, there's nothing. So at 70% to the end, I was like, yeah, this is great. Like, okay. However, for me personally, it just wasn't enough for me to make the commitment to finish the other, I think there's like 4 more books or something. Other things I enjoyed, like I said, the characters were great. There was not a main character or supporting main character that I didn't like. They all had a distinct voice. They were all well written. And when listening to audio, I do want to say that I thought that the narrator did a great job. So that is my overall review for the Raven Boys.
So do you think that maybe with the Raven Boys, do you think that it was a lot of world building? Is that what made it slow?
No. That would have helped if there was like actually a lot of world building, but no, it was a lot of it was
See, that's why I don't really like to read a whole lot of, mystery, because that happens in mysteries. Like, you're reading all of this and it's just like, oh, come on, somebody
Well,
die
it has
already.
mystery in it, but it really is young adult fantasy. So I was expecting, like I said, based on the premise, like there's, let me go back to really quick with this. It was like, um, I don't know. Like I said, the premise really focused in on Blue and this character Gansey, the synopsis, and they're like, and it said like this strange, sinister world of like the Raven boys. So I was expecting like a little dark academia, and then like forbidden romance, and then like I want to kiss you but I can't because I'll kill you. Like
That's cool.
literally 70% went completely out of field for me, and I was like, I mean, it's good, but what happened? Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It has a lot of rave reviews, so maybe it's just me. And again, I love this author. I thought the writing was good, but like you just said, the world building wasn't really there for me until the end. Character development was great, but in terms of like plot, I was just like, what? Like, what's going on?
Well,
So
that stinks. I hope your next book, well, I know what you're reading now. So, I mean,
literally
that book is
finished it. When you were like, do you want to go on early? I was like, no, I cannot. While I'm finishing like review stuff, I was like, I have 7 minutes left in this thing. I need to listen to it. And then there was a whole nother section, by the way, of like the authors explaining. So we'll talk about that.
yeah.
Which I have questions for you. I have a lot of questions, but I just want to say I was right with my guess for book 2. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the book I read is Homecoming King by Penny Reid. And
Love Penny Reid.
Reid is one of my favorite authors. If you haven't read her, do, because she wrote a series called The Winston Brothers, and she wrote Knitting in the City series. That is just amazing. And I love it. So you get, when you start reading Homecoming King, you immediately get the vibes that you get from the Winston Brothers. I mean, and that's just with the dialogue. I'm always here for good dialogue. I love great dialogue. I like dialogue that feels like it's a conversation that I would have. So right from the start, you meet
Good banter.
I'm sorry.
Good banter.
Yeah,
Good banter between the people.
Just like throughout. So, I mean, it doesn't even matter what the plot is for me. If there's good conversation, I'm here for it. But from the get-go, you meet this girl named Abby. She's a bartender. She would be one of our friends. She's quirky. She likes to craft. She has an Etsy store where she makes pottery. She's like all these things. And she has had one relationship her whole life that ended very badly. She married the guy, and he turned out to be a con man. So their marriage lasted 3 months, and she ends up getting divorced and ends up having to have all this financial ruin happens to her. So she's decided she's just not going to date ever. Like, she just doesn't want to. So she ends up becoming sort of this creature of habit, and she doesn't like things in her life to change. She likes things to remain the same. That is until her, I would say, preschool, grade school crush, like the man that
Uh-oh.
it all changes. It all changes pretty quick. Well, first of all, Rex, he is a pro football player. So all this, you automatically get he's a big, hot guy, right? So he walks into the bar, and he's already tipsy, and she doesn't really get the fact that he's already drunk. So she just serves him because she's so caught off by who he is. And then all of a sudden he needs a place to go, and she has nobody to call, so she takes him home with her. I mean, what are you going to do, right? You got to take him home with you. I mean, who wouldn't take him home with you? So then it just ends up where, Rex is this guy that he has this nickname. His nickname is TW.
There's no spoilers, right? This is no spoilers, right?
This is no spoilers. It's kind
Okay.
of in the synopsis already. I didn't read the synopsis because I figure I will just give you my review because it's pretty much the synopsis.
Okay.
He has a nickname called Training Wheels McMurtry, and his nickname came from the fact that any girl that he dates, they break up with him and they marry the very next guy that they date. So he's kind of got this reputation of being the guy. Training Wheels McMurtry. He's the guy that is, always a groomsman, never a groom. He's a great friend. He's kind of got like I don't know, like a broody kind of demeanor about him, but he's also very sweet. He's a great football player, obviously. So anyway, they start to not really have chemistry, but they're like, he kind of, without a spoiler, he gives her kind of like a business
Proposition.
Yeah. He kind of propositions her with a business arrangement. So, and then it goes from there. They just, I kind of feel bad for her in a way because she's got a low self-esteem and she feels like he would never notice her ever. Like she's not even really sure if he remembers who she is from school until she starts to tell him, I'm this girl from school. We went to school together. We went to grade school together. We went to preschool together. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, I know who you are. And it was because she had changed so much over the years that he had forgotten who she was. And so this kind of little by little things start to come out about how he knows her, what she means to him. And she's still mightily crushing on the dude. Like she's just very into him, and it's pretty cool how it all comes out. You would like it. Very happy ending. Happy.
Okay, so what is your content rating and what is your overall rating?
Right, I didn't do that. Well, the content rating, it's definitely adult, 18 and up. I give it a spice rating of 3, because sexual relations happens, well, not, I guess, over halfway through the book it starts to happen, but when it does happen, the language is a little graphic and all that good stuff. So I give it a spice rating of 3. My overall rating, I gave it 4.5 stars. I didn't give it 5 stars only because I didn't like it as much as I like the Winston brothers, but it's like right there. So that's why I rated it with 4.5
maybe
stars.
Like 4.5? 4.5?
4.5 stars, because it's just it's there, but not quite, But
I know it's really hard to be Cletus, man.
I know, right? But this is a series. This is also it's a 3 Kings series, so I'm looking forward to reading the other 2 books. So, and it's a pretty new book. I think Drama King is next book in the series, and I look forward to reading that one next.
Okay. What is this one? Is this one again?
Homecoming King. So, and obviously there's characters.
Because I've seen Penny Reid talk about Drama King a little bit.
Okay.
Seen some stuff, so I mixed up the 2.
Drama King, the main character from Drama King is a character from Homecoming King. So true to Penny Reid, these characters all kind of like touch each other. So,
right.
And he's even though in Homecoming King, this next character that's going to be in Drama King, Cyrus, even though he is kind of like he's just a friend, you hear from him quite often in the book. So you kind of get to know him a little bit in Homecoming King. So I'm looking forward to it.
I like it. Yeah, I can't wait to read it. So good.
Yeah, you're going to like it. That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Did I do okay? Because I feel like I was kind of all over the place.
Oh, you did great. You did great. So you did your content rating, and then you explained, well, I think adults pretty self-explanatory, 18 and older.
For sure.
And then your overall review. Was there anything that was not like your cup of tea in it, or you just really liked all of it?
No, I really liked all of it. Even there was some hard topics in there. Not to me though, because I like hard stuff. I like hard drama. So, but nothing that would make you cry. Like nothing was too terribly upsetting, but you got to see some background, like with her ex-husband, with her family dynamic. You got to see some little things about why she is how she is,
Yeah.
with needing to be, you know, in a comfort zone that never changes, that kind of, so you kind of get to know what that's like. So I liked reading that part. And yeah, there was really nothing that I absolutely hated about the book, except for her ex-husband. I did not like him at all. So.
Well, then she did her job, right? You got to have a little bit of a villain.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that was our first. I think we went over a little bit, but yeah, this is our goal. Once again, we're Bloop. We are here because we feel like, again, readers have a right to know what's in their book, but we also want to, be a place for you guys to be able to come to and get, solid, consistent book reviews. And so our goal is, at least right now, once a week to pop on and do a short, 10, 15 minute review of each of us doing one book, for a total of 10 to 15 minutes. And then eventually we were going to move this over to podcasts. Sorry, I cannot. What's going on? Move it over to the podcast and eventually live podcasts. We are working on our website where we'll have more in-depth reviews for you to go. So we hope to just be like an overall resource that, readers can go to for trusted reviews.
Yeah, and also we hope to be entertaining and a place to go have fun conversation, especially when we go live on our podcasts, and then you guys can come in and sort of ask us questions or, contribute.
Lots of fun book talk.
Yeah.
And then we will explain to on our website, Amy, Rebecca, and I were using like a content rating system and a spice rating system. So we'll have that up on the website as well, so you can kind of understand what is kind of expected within those. Because, Rebecca and I were talking, and, trigger warnings could be great, but they can also be very spoilery, right? They can kind of spoil what's in that book, and can maybe influence, not influence, but kind of, I guess the word spoil, like what you're reading, being on the adventure and being on the, I can't even talk, being on the adventure along with the book as you go along with the book. So sometimes if something's coming, it spoils a plot line and all these things. So we thought, maybe a way to kind of help that is they can have a general idea, like how intense does this book get with like language or graphic violence or graphic sex scenes or, all the things that we kind of see. That movie ratings help us understand, or game ratings help us understand before we watch these movies or these TV shows or play these games.
But just like with your book, Laura, I mean, you rated it. What was your rating? 13? 12?
My first book is Amazon does it a little differently. If you want to be young adult on Amazon, it starts at 13 and up. But in the trad publishing world, it can start as young as 12. So book one for me is 12, 13, but then book two is upper YA, starts to go more upper YA.
No, the book that you just reviewed. What did you rate it?
Sorry. I gave it YA 16.
Oh, okay. So just like with that, even though they had like a bunch of F-bombs in that book, and it could possibly be rated, if it were a movie, it might be rated R due to the language. But you're still saying a 16-year-old could read it because there's not a whole lot of this. So our reviews will be great for parents saying, there's this, but there's also that, to where possibly a child of this age.
Yeah, we're thoroughly explaining. So, each rating will have, like a generalized content, but, there is some leeway sometimes, or some exceptions. Like I said, for the content, for the most part, was YA 12. Because again, there wasn't anything really graphic. And again, nothing's really happening in the story. We're learning about characters and one of the characters' obsession with ley lines. But, so really you have YA 12, but then all these cuss words bring it to adult, but it's really not an adult story. So I felt it best fit it. So we will explain thoroughly, we will thoroughly explain why we feel it belongs where it belongs. And then as a parent, or as a reader, you can decide what's best for you that way.
Right, exactly. So, well, we hope you enjoyed our first episode here on this Instagram Live with Bloop. And we hope to be back in a week and share 2 more books with you.
No, we don't hope, Rebecca. I know, guys, this is hard. This is hard for us. Rebecca says we hope. We will be back next week.
This is hard. Oh my God.
I know. But even if we can't, like our goal is like, so what's hard is retaining. When you're reading 50 plus books a year, sometimes it can get hard to retain like all the details and information. So our goal is to, as soon as we're done reading something, to share about it. So sometimes it might just be me, sometimes it might be Rebecca, but hopefully most of the time it's me and Rebecca together. We'll get, 2 books out of the way for you. And then we're adding everything to the website, and so you'll have another location to go. And then, of course, we'll compile these 10, 15-minute videos, edit them down to make sure they're 10, 15 minutes, put a few together, and then we'll have them up on YouTube as well. So we have lots of plans. So
exactly.
We just look forward to connecting with you guys and doing all things books.
Exactly. All right. Well, have a good night. We love you.
You too. Have a good night.